All right, hi everybody. Welcome back to MandoLessons Live. Hope you're all doing well. My name's Baron Collins Hill, and looking forward to spending the hour with you. If you're new here and haven't caught one of these before, the way these work is pretty simple. Just get to hang out. I love hearing questions from you all. You know, let me know what you're working on, what you got questions about. No question too advanced or too simple, anything like that. It's all fair game. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Let's see who's in the chat here. Hope I'm coming through loud and clear. All right, we got Richard and Pete and Robert and Uncle Bobby and Paul and Teddy and Simon and Angie. Good to have you all here from all over the world so far. It looks like mostly the States today. Got some fellow Oregonians. Glad to see you here. How are the skies in Oregon is what Uncle Bobby asked. They're pretty good. They're not nearly as bad as they were a couple weeks ago when we had the worst air quality in the world. It's a sad title to hold, but there you have it. But they cleared up nicely for a while, and now there's some smoke from some of the still burning California fires kind of high up in the atmosphere, and there's not a lot of wind, so it's vastly better than it was. I think there's like we'll have a couple days of slightly diminished air quality. Oh, and thank you so much, Uncle Bobby, for the super chat. Appreciate it. Helps me do these live sessions, help me keep the website going, new lessons every week, all that. There's a couple ways you can donate. There's super chat, there's PayPal donations, there's Patreon, there's merch, which I don't actually have any on today or around, but I got t-shirts and I got mugs. I might have hats soon if I can get my act together. All kinds of good stuff. All the links are in the description if I did it correctly. All right, we got tons of more folks coming in here. We got Denise. Good to see you, Denise from Michigan. Joseph, Marion, Michael, Petter, Thomas, Woody, all sorts of folks. Great. All right, now we got folks from all over the world. It was USA heavy for a second there, but this is great. All right. So yeah, feel free to ask questions. I'll play some tunes. That first tune I played there was... Oh no. How quickly they leave my brain. I'll think of it in a second. It's on my website. Just can't quite remember what it's called. If anyone in the chat knows the answer, you get 10 points. All right. Let's see. India, New York. Richard is 3 weeks into mandolin and 8 months into ukulele. Awesome. Glad you got some fun instruments to play around with. First mandolin arrives today, Michael. That's awesome. I hope you enjoy it. They're a lot of fun. Many hours of enjoyment coming up for you. Oklahoma, Chip, good to see you. Randy says, I have a question on your 5-video lesson for 9-pound hammer. Which one do you cover the intro on? I assume is what you meant. I don't remember off the top of my head. If by intro you mean just like kind of melodic idea, like the melody. I got a question recently. I get questions all the time to do lessons on like kickoffs and whatever the other ones are called, like little breaks and endings. And I've been hesitant to do it because I find it really dependent on the tune, but I think I'm going to make some lessons soon because I think the best way to kick off into a classic folk or bluegrass song, if you're asked to kind of play an instrumental intro, it depends. You know, like you can do a full break of the entire tune, you can do a half break, you can just do a little phrase. But a lot of times it's really just going to depend on what the tune is, you know, rather than having a static little lick that you play every time for every tune. That's going to make every song sound the same. But, you know, if you're thinking like, okay, 9-pound hammer, and I'll probably try to rope in some of those lessons I have in the song section. But 9-pound hammer, key of A. So if somebody, you know, if I'm standing around in the bluegrass jam and somebody says, 9-pound hammer, key of A, hey, Baron, why don't you kick it off? I might, you know, I would mostly just play some amount of the melody. It could be... beginning. This 9-pound hammer, a little too heavy. So that's kind of it would be like a 1A with maybe a little kind of classic lick at the end. But for the most part, that just sounds like 9-pound hammer. Gets everybody in the groove, puts everybody where they know they need to be, kind of in the tune, and kind of a refresher of what the tune sounds like, versus saying, hey, why don't you kick it off? And I go... Same tempo, same amount of music, but there isn't any 9-pound hammer in there. So it's a little like, oh, how does this tune go? It's not quite, it's not crafted to the song itself. So that's something I'm thinking about doing in a lesson, doing that for some of those songs that I have on the website. But in terms of which one has the intro, I don't know off the top of my head. I know I teach the melody, and if you're looking for sort of an intro idea, check out the melody version. Yeah, Uncle Bobby says it's bad back down in the Bay Area. Sorry to hear that. Hopefully the season will end soon enough. Robert says, saw a video this morning where a guy's got a 90s flat iron A5. Oh, cool. You said you probably made that neck when you were working out in Montana. That's awesome. That's cool. So cool that you got to make necks for such classic instruments. I love those flat irons. It's one of the first like nice mandolins I played was a friend's flat iron A5. Thank you so much, Michael, for the super chat as well. Very kind of you. As I said, really helps me keep doing these sort of things, and it all goes to the site. Cool, we got Marion as well, who just got a mandolin yesterday. Chip says, is there a 3-fingered D chord? Great question. There's a couple. There's a 1-finger D chord. Just don't play that E string. You can make it a 2-finger D chord with the classic D shape. You can have a 2-finger kind of chop sound, 7 and 4. And if you just play those 2 strings, you can make it chop. You can make it a 3-finger, or you can do this as a D chop chord, 2 and 4. Or again, 7 and 4, pretty similar sound. I think 7 and 4 has a little more punch. You can make it a 2-finger chord with 3 strings. Sorry, this is way past your question, Chip, but it'll give you some options, because there's never just one chord for the one option at any given time. So you got 7-4 open. That's a nice ringy D chord, or 2-4 open. You can't chop them, because if you chop, it sounds like this. You get that A ringing out the whole time. So to make a 3-finger chop D chord, I'll do something like that. 7, 4, 5 on G, D, and A. Or you could do 2, 4, 5. I like both of those equally well, kind of depending on the situation. Or if you want a higher voiced chord, you could do 7, 7, 9. And that's pretty much just leaving the E string off of your classic kind of bar shape. But I rarely play 4-string chords. Are there any others out there? That's about it. At least that I play regularly. Might be some other little ones, but yeah, I'd say that'll give you some options anyway. Hopefully I didn't overload you there. The short answer would probably be that bluegrass sound, 7, 4, 5. Or 2, 4, 5. You can use those anyway. It doesn't have to be bluegrass, but they work as bluegrass chop chords. Sukmeet, apologies, I'm probably not pronouncing your name correctly, says, how long does it take for calluses to form if I practice 3 times a day? I'd say give yourself, I've been playing for 20 years now, and my calluses come and go. It's always a little bit of a It's always, your fingers are always changing a little bit. But I'd say, give yourself 2 or 3 weeks playing a couple times a day, and don't play for hours and hours and hours 3 times a day. Even if you can pick up the instrument for 10 minutes a couple times a day, that's great. And especially when you're first starting out, you don't want to. Playing for short periods of time will help you not develop bad habits. It will give your fingers time to rest and not, do the same motion that you're new to too many times and hurt yourself. It'll allow your calluses to actually kind of build up quicker by playing regularly a couple times a day, but not for hours and hours. You don't want to shred your fingers. But yeah, give it a couple weeks and it's definitely hard on the fingers at first, but in a couple weeks you'll be much more comfortable. All right, Robert from Plymouth, good to have you here. Marion says, ukulele for 3 years and now attempting the mandolin. Glad to hear it. Niall from London. I think I just sent you an email, or maybe you're on Patreon. I can't quite remember. Apologies, but I recognize your name. Oh yeah, it was Patreon. Thank you so much for your support on Patreon. Good pinky exercise. Question from Angie. I recommend the jazzmando.com 4-finger closed position scales, FFCP. It's little closed position scales that are super useful, like for the key of A, rather than hitting that open string. Rather than using those open strings, you can just use your pinky instead on the 7th fret. And it goes through all kinds of different patterns. So you have I haven't done those in a while, so I'm a little rusty on them myself. But that sort of stuff, don't do it for too long. Just like if you're if you're first getting into pinky exercises, you don't want to do an hour of pinky exercises a day, or it won't be helpful. You'll just end up hurting yourself and feeling really uncomfortable. But just try those for a couple minutes every day, and it'll slowly strengthen up that pinky and make you use it a lot. Cool. Paul says, love the long sleeve MandoLessons tee. Glad it's working out for you. Steve from Western New York, good to have you here. Eastern Canada, Kate, good to have you here as well. Vancouver Island, BC, all right. Do you have a lesson on shuffle patterns? I probably do. That's a good question. If you just search shuffle on my website, I hope there's something there. If there's not, shoot me an email and I'll make a dedicated lesson on the shuffle pattern. I think I did something kind of recently, but really everything kind of melts together in my head. What was the rhythmic pattern you used for 9-pound hammer? Rhythmic pattern. Okay, so I think that's probably like that sort of basic right hand movement was what was going on underneath a lot of that. So boom, down, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, down, up, down, up, down, up. So down, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, down, up, down, up, down, up. That's the pattern. And I was doing a little bit of cross picking in there. But even if I'm doing that cross picking, my right hand is still doing that down, down, up, down, up, down, up. But just to go a little more in depth, it could be like strum through all as you're down, and then you could do, which is you're holding that A shape, which is 2-2 open open, is your chord you're working out of. So you have down as the big first stroke, and then on, I'm just going to say names of strings, but still holding that A chord. D, A, E, A, D, A. Again, D, A, E, A, D, A. So it's... that's kind of a little more cleanly than I was playing. I was kind of letting my right hand hit a bunch of strings at the same time. But that was the general idea, is that down, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, down, up, down, up, down, up. Great question. Is there an E chord near the first position? There sure is. I'll show you what it is. There's a couple, actually. One is the first one that comes to mind is 1, 2, 2 open. So in the key like A, you'd be. Another one is just to do 4, 2, 2 open. That'll work as an E. You can also take strings out of that, so 4, 2, 2. Or just to kind of really simplify it, you can make it 4, 2. Or you can make it 1, 2. The 1, 2, 2 chord, that one, is a little colorful. It's got, just to jump into music theory for a second, it's got the third of the chord, G sharp, in the bass, which makes it is a little uncommon. And it gives it a certain sound that I think doesn't always work, but a really kind of always gonna work chord example would be 4 and 2. That actually doesn't have a third in it at all. And if you don't know what I mean by thirds and music, all that music theory, don't worry about it. Just try both of those chords and see which one sounds best to your ears. Andrew, thank you so much for the super chat. Appreciate it. It says running out of campfire weather here in Minnesota, Montana. I can never remember all the MN states. And I know where you live. It's not coming to my brain today. Not enough coffee. But starting to get pretty chilly. Hopefully we're able to find a way to safely do some indoor sessions. Surprised a lot of the local sessions are still running. Whoa, yeah. Everything out here is pretty, there's no sessions to be seen here really. Yeah, it's going to be entering a rainy season out here in Oregon, and everybody's got the same question. What are we going to do? All right, hi from Mississippi. Good to see you. Yeah, good to have you here. Glad that was helpful, Chip. Chile, awesome. Thanks for joining. Hi from Sweden. Awesome, excellent. Vernon, British Columbia. I have a lot of buzz sound in my mandolin. So I've got some lessons on my website. In the technique and fundamentals section, I assume. I don't know exactly where they are. But I've got some lessons on basic setup that you can do to your own mandolin, involving like making sure the bridge is in the right spot and is high enough or low enough. Beyond that, you probably should take it to someone that knows about stringed instruments, and if it's really buzzy, there's a bunch of things that could be going on. It could be frets that are out of level, so there's like a high fret that's making things buzz, or it could be something going on with the nut or the slots in the bridge. There's kind of lots of things that could be going on, but I think I have a lesson on like finding buzzes. Can't remember, but it ends up being a lot of variables. If you want to try to figure it out yourself, I recommend asking questions over on Mandolin Cafe, which is the best mandolin forum on the internet as far as I'm concerned. And there's people over there that build mandolins and repair, and they'll have plenty of help trying to diagnose where the buzzes are coming from. Gary, thank you so much for the very generous super chat. Appreciate it. Hope you're well. What am I listening to these days? A couple of things. That's a good question. I'm just going to open up my iTunes here so I can look at it and remember. The thing that pops into my head right off the bat is my friend Jenna Moynihan, an excellent fiddle player, just put out an EP yesterday that's really beautiful. A lot of traditional songs. It's got a very mellow, nice, autumnal sound to it to my ears. So there's tons of great music coming out right now. That's one, Jenna Moynihan. She's got an EP called 5 Songs. Northwest old time band called The Onlys just put out an album also yesterday that's also excellent. Much more upbeat, kind of straight ahead old time with a little bit of bluegrass thrown in there. Sylvan Esso put out an album called Free Love recently. That is not traditional music really at all. But actually, I first got in, if people are familiar with Sylvan Esso, very popular band, a lot of like electronic music and stuff I don't know how to talk about, but I enjoy the sound of. I actually got into them because Amelia Meath, the singer in the group, was in a group in Vermont called Mountain Man, and they did some like traditional stuff and more kind of folky harmony and stuff that I really enjoyed. And then I got into them. I got into Sylvan Esso when Amelia started that band with Nick Sanborn. Other things that I've really been enjoying, there's a couple recent albums this summer from Gillian Welch of previously unreleased kind of older music of her and David Rollins just sitting around, I assume. I don't know if they were sitting or standing. And it's called Boots Number 2, The Lost Songs. And there's 2 volumes of that have come out that are just lovely. Classic Gillian Welch stuff. And there's a 3rd volume out, I think coming out in November. That's a couple things that I've been listening to lately. There's a lot of good music coming out these days, though. Hey, Lewis, good to have you here. I don't know the Godfather theme. It's also copyrighted. That's why I don't have a lesson on it. But I bet you could search Google for it, and I bet there's someone out there that's made a lesson on it or has the tablature or something. All right, let's see. Wow, that's a great chat. I love it when I can't keep up with the chat. Hitting the wrong strings while practicing. Aside from practicing, is there anything I can do to help avoid it? I feel like I'm holding or strumming poorly. Been playing for 6 months. I think one thing you can do, the best thing to do is really just like slow down and make right hand exercises part of your, even if it's just like 60 seconds or less than 5 minutes a day. Really simple exercise. You don't even really need, you can have a chord in your right hand if you want, like a G chord. Just doing like cross picking exercises like that. Starting super basic, just nice consistent down and up strokes. You can use a metronome if you want on the G string. And when that feels comfortable, you see if you can look away. I have a lesson called Don't Look Down where I talk about this. And then go to the D string. See if you can get there without looking. If you have to look, that's fine, but then look back away. A string. E. And then see if you can do like down on the G and up on the D. Down on D, up on A. A and E. Then you can do G and A. D and E. G and E. D and E. D, down on D and up on G. It's a little awkward feeling sometimes. And just kind of, get your right hand moving, constant down, up, and really just have, it doesn't matter what the pattern is, it just matters that you're being really particular about what you want to be hitting and trying to hit that nice and consistently. And then once you can do it while looking, make sure to like avert your gaze, look somewhere else, and try to keep that good sound coming out of the instrument. Lars from Sweden, good to have you here. Simon says, I recently tried switching from 2-finger pick grip to 1-finger. Okay, so from, let's zoom in here. So I think you're talking about like from something like this, where it's a little hard to show. Like that is 2-finger to that is 1-finger. Some people call that 3-finger to 2-finger, but I'm not really sure if there is a proper name for it. I like it, but I find my index finger knuckle contacting the strings a lot. Is this normal or something I should fix? I definitely sometimes will scrape my knuckle on the strings, and sometimes after a bunch of like really high energy playing, I'll just have scraped up my knuckle, or it'll be all like black from string gunk. I think in general, you're aware of it, so it's just a matter of like keeping, like slowly adjusting as you're playing to kind of back away from either not put the pick so far through the strings or backing your fingers away from the tip of the pick. So, you know, if you find yourself really like clenching down on the pick so there's not a whole lot sticking out, you can back out and leave a little more pick there. I don't know that I'd go that far, but just to demonstrate what I'm talking about. Or just don't pick, you know, don't put the pick as far through the strings. See if you can kind of brush through them a little more on the top. Hope that's helpful. Love all these questions. 109 degrees in California today. That's way too hot for me. I hope you're staying cool as best you can. Fancy playing us some Irish tunes, maybe a jig or two. Absolutely. And thank you, Edward, for the super chat. Yeah, I'll take a little break and play an Irish tune or two. Let's see. There's a couple Irish tunes. I don't know if either one of those is on my website. I think the second one might be. The first one is the Breckless Drowning, or the Drowning at Breckless. I think maybe it's both of those. It's got a whole historical context to it that I won't get into. But it's an interesting story. You should look it up if you're interested in kind of the story behind the tunes. It's a very interesting story. And the second tune was Anthony Frawley's. I think I may have put a lesson for that on the website. I'm not sure. But thanks for the request. I love playing some Irish tunes. Alright, let's see. I have decent strum patterns but never feel particularly comfortable how I'm holding it. Need a strap. Yeah, straps can be, this is a question from Kate, or a comment from Kate. Straps are super helpful because it means you're not spending so much effort just holding up the instrument. You know, the strap is doing most of that. A little bit of weight, you know, just the weight. I'm not pushing with my right arm, but just the weight of my right arm on the mandolin just kind of puts the instrument in proper position for my left hand. And that means I'm not spending all that energy trying to like hold up the instrument, and then both hands can really focus more on playing rather than securing the instrument. Big fan of straps. All right, AC says +1 for a jig. Glad I got that in there. Lewis says, just got home from the Bluegrass Hall of Fame, attending a band class on intros, outros, tags, arrangements, and such. Cool. That's awesome. I would love to have gone to that. My right hand wanders towards the bridge as I play. That's definitely, that happens. And, if it's something you're trying to fix, you're on the right track just by realizing that it's happening. And, you'll have to adjust back out and just, keep that in mind. And the more you find yourself doing it, the more you can be like, oh, wait, I'm trying not to do that. Bring it back out. Keep an ear out for like the tonal difference you get. And, if you start hearing the tone get away from what you're hoping to have coming out of your instrument, it might mean that you're choking up towards the bridge again. Edward is in Smoky San Luis Obispo. I hope things clear out for you. So far, all the smoke up here in Oregon is up in the sky for the most part, kind of out of breathable air quality, but awesome. Teddy says, love Sylvanesso. Me too. Danny from the North Carolina mountains. Good to have you here. Michael says, hearing AJ Lee prompted me to get a mandolin. Awesome. Great choice. Oh, he's great, though. And he does have an awesome voice. David Benedict. Yep. On this. Robert says, David Benedict gives a tutorial on this great lesson. Not sure what topic, but definitely check out David. He actually, I think, has a live stream coming up right after mine. I think at like 3 Eastern. I can't remember, but he's been doing some live streams that are also awesome. So if you want to fill your Saturday up totally with live streams, you know where to go. He's got a YouTube channel, and highly worth checking him out. He's a great picker. What is your mandolin model? For example, Havana MDE 250. So this mandolin was built by Tom Ellis in Austin, Texas. It's his A5. I don't really know what the model is. It's like A5. He has like deluxe and special. I don't know which one it is. I feel like I should know that. But it's his A5 model. Yeah, that's what mandolin I'm playing. I love it. I think there's a link in the description to his website if you want to check those out. Check out Peak Fiddler for tons of jigs. Great fiddle and mando player. Cool. Is that on YouTube? I'll have to check that out. I love finding other mandolin players playing tunes. Yep, Lewis. Lewis says Saturday live stream and Sunday office hours. Yes. So for people who support me on Patreon, I'm also doing a live stream. If you do $5 a month or more, I do patron-only live streams. So that's what Lewis is talking about. It's a much more relaxed, at least on my end. I hope you all are plenty relaxed and having a good time. But I get to dive more in depth into questions on Patreon. It's a little slower paced because there's so many things going on in the chat in the public live streams that I often can't really answer all the questions as much as I'd like. James says, how about a tune from your old time album? Okay, yeah. How about, I don't even know what's on that album. What is on that album? I don't know if that's on there. I wish I knew. Let's see. Old time mandolin or banjo? Where'd it go? Old time. Okay. How about? I think I did. Ducks on the Mill Pond. tune. It's an old-time tune. I think it's on my album, Ducks on the Mill Pond. So thank you, James, for the album plug. Yeah, I've got, if you go to either my website, there might be a link in the description, but if you go to my website, MandoLessons.com, there's a link to that in the description anyway. There's a shop page or a store page where you can find merch, and you can also find any recordings that I have. I've got an album of solo mandolin, old-time tunes, along with a bunch of other stuff. And check it out if that's of interest to you. It's all on Bandcamp, so you can stream it there and purchase it if you feel so inclined. We've got some requests off the album. Tennessee Mountain Fox Chase and Arkansas Traveler. I've been having trouble starting Tennessee Mountain Fox Chase recently. Maybe I'll play that in a little bit. Play hymns. I'm not so good on the hymns, unfortunately. And unfortunately, also, a lot of them are copyrighted. That stuff is often copyrighted, and then YouTube picks up on it and makes it hard to use my website and the YouTube channel. But I appreciate the suggestion. Peak is a Brit and composes and arranges tons of great tunes, publishes tabs and notes often on YouTube. A treasure for sure. Cool. I will do that. Do I know any Greek tunes? Unfortunately, I do not. I love the sound of Greek music, what little I've heard, but I don't know any myself. Alright, let's see here. Maybe I'll see if I can get into Tennessee Mountain Fox Chase. I think I caught up with the chat, but if I missed a question, by all means, throw it back in there and I'll try to get to it. That's not it. I was playing that earlier. I'll start with that section and I'll get into it. There it is. There it is, a little Tennessee Mountain Fox Chase. And a very good question from Caroline after that says, got any tips for remembering songs? What I did right there where I couldn't remember how that song went was I tried to remember if there was any kind of standout moment in the tune for me. Often there's one little phrase in the tune that's really memorable. It doesn't have to be the same tune, the same little moment for everybody, but just find a moment for me in that tune. That little moment, I think I've heard that described as the foxes yipping after, I'm sorry, the foxhounds yipping after the foxes. Kind of little onomatopoetic, if I don't know if that's quite the right word if it's a tune, but anyway, you know what I mean. Finding those little moments that kind of stick out, seeing if you can latch that little moment to the name of the tune. You know, so Tennessee Mountain Fox Chase, Fox Chase, dogs yipping. That is what kind of connects me to that. And then even if, you know, I think of that as the B part. People play that tune with different parts thought of as the A and B and C. But for me, that's the B part. So even if it's not the part you're supposed to start with, you can at least start there and let muscle memory take back over. And the only other thing I can say is just, play them a lot. You can set up little games for yourself where you have half a dozen tunes, see if you can remember them. And then once you get to the point where you just have a list of tunes, say, okay, do I know how Tennessee Mountain Fox Chase goes? And if you can do it, great. If you can't, look it up. And once you get to some point on that tune where you're just like, yes, I know how it goes, like, don't even have to think about it. Put something else. Replace it on the list with something else. And then if you forget it, put it back on the list later. I'm in a constant state myself of remembering and forgetting tunes. Mostly forgetting. All right, let's see. Got James says, any instruments in the background that you feel we should see? And Uncle Bobby says, the background instruments. The Rickenbacker Tenor. I actually don't have the Rickenbacker Tenor here right now. It's at the shop just getting screwed up a little bit. It's got a couple things I want to dial in on it. But I'll pull something off the back wall. Oh, this. So I do have a Rickenbacker. That's a lap steel though. So that's what they normally have out there, or what is more common of a Rickenbacker instrument. I don't know if that's supposed to. No. But Rickenbacker also did make some Spanish style, like a normal guitar, like this, sort of, played in this style versus lap. Most Rickenbackers you see are lap steels where you're playing with the slide and finger picks, or not finger picks, but kind of finger style. Whoa! Oh yeah, it's this one. I got confused. Here's a fun one. This is, this actually isn't what I thought I picked up. This is a Vega plectrum guitar. It's a little out of tune. I'll go up to A here. So this is, I've got it tuned like a mandocello currently. And let's see. So yeah, this thing's fun. It's a Vega from probably the 30s plectrum guitar. So it's got a really long scale length. It's like 27-ish inches, which is 4 inches longer than your long scale tenor guitar. And up to, I've seen like 20-inch tenor guitars, so 7 inches longer than a short scale tenor guitar. Mahogany back and sides, spruce top. Yeah, I got it tuned like a mandocello, 4 strings. It's fun for kind of Yep, so CGDA, mandocello, an octave below a mandola. octave and a half below a mandolin, half an octave below an octave mandolin. So yeah, that's a fun one. Doesn't want to sit in there. Yeah, close enough. And next time, was it Uncle Bobby that wanted the Rickenbacker? Yeah. Next time, hopefully, I don't know exactly when I'll get that Rickenbacker back, but I'll pull that out next time and play some electric for you. I've heard of Memory Palace. AC Milan says Memory Palace is a technique for remembering stuff. I can't remember exactly how Memory Palace works, but I've heard people talk about that with fiddle tunes specifically. Robert says, oh, a way to build calluses is to glue some nails to a piece of wood and keep it in your pocket and squeeze it during the day. I like that. Ah, that's a good idea. James says I make YouTube playlists of all the tunes I learned so I have them for reference. That's a great way to do it as well. Henry says I recently picked up a tenor guitar based on things you've put out. It's a lot of fun, but I don't actually really know many songs on it. That's kind of how I was with tenor guitar. When I first picked one up, I was like, hey, this thing's got 4 strings, like a mandolin. I've got 4 fingers. I'm going to tune it like a mandolin. And, you know, I just kind of did mandolin-y stuff on it. And eventually I ended up settling on a different tuning. G, D, A, D. So I took my E string down to a D. Gives it a little more droney. And I honestly mostly use it for kind of accompaniment in normal times when I get to play with fiddle players. But recently I've been getting into electric tenors and playing more melody stuff. Keeps me entertained when I got to stay inside most of the time. Stephen from Virginia, any advice on giving bluegrass solos a bluesier sound? Definitely. I'd say listen to some Bill Monroe. He was super bluesy. On like a kind of more technical sense, I would say, you know, find those blue notes in whatever scale you're in. So if you're in D, really try to work in that C natural. That C natural, or the flat 7 in music theory terms. Also the flat 3 to natural 3 in the key of D. F to F sharp, often in a slide. Don't be afraid to bend. I love bending strings on a mandolin. You don't see it all that much. The tension's pretty high, so you got to kind of work up to it, speaking of calluses. But, you know, playing in the key of D. Taking that flat 3 that I was just talking about, that F natural. See if we can bend it up to F sharp. Those are a couple things, you know, kind of assess the key you're in, figure out where those blue notes are, listen to a lot of blues mandolin, and kind of bluesier bluegrass players. And I think you'll be well on your way to getting some of that sound into your playing. Jerry says, I feel like I need to support the mandolin in the V of my left hand on the ball of the first knuckle. Is this bad practice? Do you have a gap in holding the mandolin in the left hand? Ideally, yes. I teach to have a gap. I'll see if I can get this in the screen. How do I get... Here we go. So ideally, you want some space in there. So when I'm normally playing, it looks something like hard to get it in the camera, but... So it is, it's hard to back up a little here. So yeah, it's about on my first knuckle. Here it's a little, my first knuckle is kind of just behind the V of the neck. If you fall all the way in to that hole, it makes it a little harder for me to get to the E string because, you know, it's like you have to kind of bend your hand back. or you're going to really like kind of bend your wrist too much, which is going to cause problems down the line. So I think a nice straight wrist, trying to leave some space behind, is going to be helpful in the long run. Thanks, AC. Yeah, I like the sound of that tenor plectrum thing. Uncle Bobby says, speaking of the Rickenbacker, have you listened to Larkin Poe? I have, a little bit. I remember I've mostly listened to the Lovell Sisters, which was 3 of them. Larkin Poe is a duo of sisters. Used to be a trio called the Lovell Sisters, kind of a bluegrass band a bunch of years ago. I don't know how recently they turned into Larkin Poe, but yeah, Megan plays mandolin. I can't remember her sister's name that plays. She plays an awesome Rickenbacker lap steel, kind of like the one I've got back there. It's a very cool sound. Tuba Skinny. I love Tuba Skinny, Robert asks. Great old time and jug band blues. Lead singer is fantastic. They are one of my favorite bands. I'm glad you mentioned them. I got into them. I teach at a camp every summer, except for this summer, in Maine, called Maine Fiddle Camp. And some friends of mine in Maine have spent time in New Orleans and got to know Tuba Skinny and are friends with a bunch of them. And they have them come up most years to Maine, and they'll play at Maine Fiddle Camp and play around where I used to live in Maine. And they just have the best sound. If you're into kind of New Orleans style jug band jazz, it's so good. Check them out. Tuba Skinny. Great name as well. But I've seen them play live so much, and they're one of my favorite bands of all time. I'm glad you know about them too. Lewis says, try to remember tunes I play. I play a new one and then play an old one. That's a good way to do it. Kind of alternate back and forth just to keep the old ones in there as well as trying to get a new one crammed in there somehow too. Yep, note on the phone with the name and the first few notes. A lot of people do that. My friend's got a little like notebook she keeps in her fiddle case. I've got lists on lists on lists of tunes on my phone as well. Topic of hand placement. When I play a chop chord, I start getting tendinitis. Is the straight wrist a way to avoid that? I'm not a doctor, so I can't say specifically. But I've had tendinitis. I've had a bunch of random kind of discomfort involving kind of the upper half of my body from playing mandolin and not doing much else but sitting there and playing music all day. And having a straight wrist has really helped me a lot. Again, you don't want to lock it in, but just like making sure you're not locking it out of alignment is the biggest thing. Either, I'll see people go either way. Sometimes it's this, sometimes it's this, but either one of those, as soon as you're locked up somewhere, it just kind of it negatively impacts everything kind of going out to your extremities. So when I've had trouble, I was having elbow trouble for a bunch of years, and I ended up figuring out it was tension in my back that was sort of like affecting nerves that were then going down my arm and making my elbow feel bad, and also like putting some of my fingers to sleep. The body works in very mysterious ways, at least to me, but everything's really connected. So as loose as you can stay, right from your core out to your extremities, is going to be a huge benefit for not hurting yourself and kind of extending the amount of time you can play comfortably. Does your left hand wrist move around a lot while playing, or just mostly your fingers? When I go from F to A minor, for instance, I wiggle around a lot. Good question. I'll go from, so here's F. Most of my wrist here, get back into this view, my wrist is pretty kind of constantly right there. There's my A minor. most part, I'm trying to stay as loose and kind of natural and not wiggle around as possible. But a little bit of, as long as you're staying loose and comfortable, a little bit of wiggle is not a bad thing. Okay, so somebody remind me, I totally forgot last week about the play along jam, and we're already at the end of the hour because I forgot again, but somebody should, Lewis last time knew the tune we were going to do a little play along jam on. Let's do that, but I can't remember which one it is, so maybe Lewis or Denise has got that information in their minds better than I do. Oh, cool. I recommended Tuba Skinny before. Oh, cool. You know somebody in the band. They're all super nice. I just bought my first mandolin yesterday. Awesome. I hope you enjoy playing it. Shane Cohn is the leader and founder. Yeah, she's the best. I wish I could remember. Made Behind the Bar. We're gonna do a little play along jam on that one. I'm gonna cheat and look it up because I can't remember how that tune goes right now. So while I look it up, everybody get their mandolin out, get nice and tuned up, and we'll play through this tune. The way this works. Oops, wrong button. I should have practiced this. Way this works, if you haven't done this before, is we'll pass it back and forth. I'll start out by trying to play the melody, and then once I'm through the tune, A, A, B, B, I'll swap off so you can play the melody while I play the chords. Let's take it nice and slow for my own sake as much as yours, and we'll have fun with it. So Made Behind the Bars in the key of D. It's an Irish reel. Let's see here. Where's that view? Ooh, I'm going to tune a little. That A string does not sound so good. It's better. Okay. Okay, awesome. So, maybe a little slower than that. Key of D, real. There is sheet music on my website if you need to do what I'm doing and cheat a little bit, but here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. A again. B. You take it. A again. Here comes the B part. B2. I'll take it, you play chords. Go for it. A2. Here comes the B part. B2. Alrighty, there we go. A little bit of Made Behind the Bar. It's been a long time since I played that one. I didn't get one of those phrases right the whole time. Yeah, it's been a long time on that one. I might play it a little different now. That's a tune that I mostly just follow at Irish sessions and have never spent a whole lot of time learning myself. Niall says, do you think it's better for a beginner to do specific exercises or just learn songs? I think it ultimately depends on your learning style. If you're really driven by exercises, that's great. I am not driven by exercises. I want to learn how to play tunes so I can play with other people and jump right into it. So I love learning tunes and kind of real musical examples. It's more satisfying to me. So that's my preference, and you end up learning a lot of exercises through learning tunes and songs, and then it also, by learning those tunes and songs, you can start to hear what you're missing. Like, oh, I really wish I knew how to play triplets. And then, so if you're working through my website, you can say, okay, I'm working on Made Behind the Bar, but I want to add some triplets. How do I do that? Then you go to techniques and fundamentals and look up, how do I play triplets? You find those lessons, work on some triplets, and then try to add them back into the tune. Awesome. Well, thank you all so much for tuning in for this hour, playing along with me. I do these every Saturday at 1 p.m. Eastern. Hope you can join me next time. Thanks for joining me today. And I hope you have a great rest of the week, or weekend and week. A great time as long as you can see into the future. All right. Enjoy. Have a good one, everybody.